There, the announcement is official. Recording in progress. Hi guys, thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your day and coming out and hanging out with us. Sean, this is like month 5 that we've been doing this.
So, yeah.
So like we are halfway through this emotion series, and it just seems to be flying by. And at the same time, it's like, wow, we still got a lot to talk about. So, you know, if you guys want to go back and check out any of the other previous ones we've done, I have posted them up on YouTube and also in our Facebook group. So if you don't need the link or can't find the link, just give me a shout and I will get those links out to you and the notes that go with those as well. One of the things that we talked about, have been talking about for a while, is people want to get the slides to these presentations, and we totally get it. So tonight, that's what we're offering for you guys is at the end of the night, once we're done with the slideshow, we're gonna give you guys the link. I'll post it in the chat box, and you guys can download it, and then you'll have the notes and the slides and any other associated notes that you guys put together. So how's that sound? Pretty good for right now? Yep. All right, cool. So, hi, thanks for showing up again. Most of you guys know me. I'm Angelo. I've been using essential oils for almost 9 years now. My wife and I, Elaine, we continue to learn more and more things. I just did a co-hosted an outdoor with essential oils class last night with Noelle. She's one of our upline. We had a fantastic time with that. Again, a lot of information. Just seems like no matter where I go, no matter how much I know, I'm always learning more about the essential oils. So we are glad that you are here and joining us tonight. Sean, you want to do a quick intro and then?
Hi, I'm Sean. Angelo wrangled me into this a number of years ago, and I'm very thankful because the essential oils and the supplements that I use through doTERRA have significantly improved my life quality. I am essentially the new kid on the block, and I'm also very fortunate that he approached myself and said, hey, I'm getting a lot of things about emotions. Can we team up? And sure, as my knees were knocking together. And I've been really excited about doing this. He and I have had wonderful collaboration on pulling these together. And with both of our medical training, it's amazing the stuff that we're finding. That it's like, wow, you literally cannot keep up because the information is changing about every 73 days.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So tonight we're going to talk about anger. And so the surprising part about anger for me on putting this together is there really wasn't, there was information out there, but we did learn about a couple of different things along the way. Sean's going to talk about a few of those things on his portion, but sometimes people are afraid that they get angry, but I need you guys to know that anger is a valid emotion and there's a right time and place to have that anger. And it's just how we process that anger and what we do with that. And those are the things that kind of get us in trouble sometimes, right? It's very easy for us to get angry, right? Driving home from work and you're going through an intersection and a car decides to break down right in the middle of the intersection. You get scared, you get angry, you get upset. The car doesn't care about any of that stuff though, right? But sometimes we get angry with the car. We got to figure out sometimes what it is that we're getting angry about, or what is it that's angering us. So that being said, any other intro stuff you want to do, Sean, or do you want to just jump right into the slides?
I think we should just jump in because you have a really large section to go.
Yeah, find out that I have the larger section this time, but that's okay. I'm going to change the gallery.
Need my glasses.
All right. All right, Sean, I just gave you slide control as well. Now let's see if we can actually get the slide. There it is, and we're off. All right. You should have slide control. See if you do.
Okay.
All right, there it is. Our first one, our declaration. We're going to do this every single time, and I'm going to read this verbatim just because this is the declaration we want to make certain that everybody knows. As wellness advocates of doTERRA, we are issuing a declaration. It's not our intent, nor are we in any way attempting to diagnose, cure, advise, or prescribe for any human disease, ailment, injury, infirmity, deformity, pain, or any other condition, physical or mental, real or imaginary, by any means or instrumentally. We are just disseminating information that has blessed our lives and our families, and we want to pass it on to you guys and share it with you guys. So that's pretty much the standard declaration we're going to make at the beginning of every presentation.
Also for compliance.
Correct.
All right. So anger. Say it out loud. Say it out loud. Anger.
Anger.
Yeah. and do you feel when you just saying it, do you feel your heart rate coming up? Do you feel like a rush of heat around your neck and head? And that's very normal. All right. The question is it serving a purpose? Now, where did anger come from? Well, it's actually one of the 6 primitive emotions that was designed for our survival. And the problem is that anger today, it's an excess of emotions. And we're going to talk about what it does neurochemically inside the brain, but it is the only emotion that is addictive. And I'll explain that here in a little bit. Now, today, in modern times, anger has this ability that it can either be destructive or it's telling us that something is out of sorts. So how is it destructive? If you get angry at somebody and it's not their fault, you may destroy a relationship that you have with that person, or somebody else that you don't know sees this outburst and then they become afraid of you, and then they have to have an interaction with you later on. You're not going to have that trust. You're not going to have that ability to develop that relationship with them that really should occur. Now, that was what, yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, I had an issue as I'm cleaning up my stepmother's estate, and I had this outburst. And it's like, I took a moment, and it's like, why? And it's what I'm realizing is that I'm just getting so overwhelmed with going on. So that's how that outburst to me was telling me, hey, I need to do some adjustment. So I had a talk with that and saying, hey, I need to take a day or 2 off here. And he understands that. So anger sometimes is that alarm bell that is, we're ignoring all the other signs. So it's that up close and in your face type reaction. Now, anger comes from one of 2 different things, and sometimes it's a combination. So, and in the notes, it goes into all the research that supports this, but there's a violation of our expectations. If we have an expectation, as Angela was saying earlier, we're driving down the road and then all of a sudden our car breaks down. Our expectation is our car is going to get us from point A to point B in the most rapid time, appropriately, safely, and efficiently. Then it breaks down. We get upset because the car breaks down. It may not be the car's fault. It may be something that I failed to do. All right. Shame on me. The other thing is it's blockage of goals. And while I have certain goals set up, if I'm not able to achieve those, then I start to, what happens when you put a, pot of water on the stove and you turn the stove on, it begins to boil. Well, you boil over. Well, in the case of the car, if you were trying to get to an appointment and you were told that if you're 15 minutes late, too bad, all right, that would be a blockage of the goal when the car breaks down because you're not going to be able to get there on time. So in that case, it's a 1-2 punch. Other times, something occurs and you're just not able to achieve that goal at that point in time, and you get frustrated with yourself. And again, it happens. The thing that is very, very scary is this is a learned response. And it's one of the few that we've talked about so far. And let me look at my list. Yeah. That as we do this, the amount of anger intensifies with each response, and it comes on so much quicker. So it's a learned phenomenon. And as you use it, kind of like when you go to the gym, you lift the weights. You start at 50 pounds. Well, after a while, 50 pounds is nothing. So you up it. And so the more you exercise those muscles, the stronger you get it and the quicker you can get those gains. Same thing happens with anger, but that's dangerous. And why? We're going to talk about some neurotransmitters here in a moment that can lead to several health issues. And the literature is wrought with health issues associated with anger. I think when I put in a number, immediately there was over 2,000 hits that came back on health-related problems and anger. One of the things that kind of shocked me is there is a 8 times, and it's in the notes, but if you have an outburst of anger, for the next 2 hours, you can have an 8-fold increase of having a heart attack and a 4-fold increase of having a stroke. That's kind of scary. All right, so let's get into why this occurs. All right, so now, as we've talked about many, many times before, we got our friend in the limbic system known as the amygdala, all right? And it is that filtering, and it looks as, is this dangerous? Is this not dangerous? Now, what normally happens is, as we've talked before, as that sensory input comes in, whether we hear it, we see it, we smell it, we taste it, we feel it, that information comes into the amygdala and it's evaluated. And then it starts reaching out to some of these other areas, such as the thalamus, the hippocampus, and the hypothalamus. Now, with things that trigger off anger, it looks to the hippocampus and there's memory that, yeah, this ticked me off in the past. And so the amygdala says, okay, that happened in the past. Well, guess what? We're going to ramp it up now even more. And so that happens. And at the same time, as it's being ramped up, it's taking the hypothalamus and the prefrontal cortex and damping them down. It basically turns them off. We're not quite sure why it occurs, but we doing all the measurements and studies that we do, we see that it does occur. And this is problematic because now this system becomes runaway. The other interesting thing is Deepak Chopra talks about the moment of truth. And there is about 2 seconds that we evaluate. And after that, it is a conscious decision whether we go forward with that emotion or change it. The problem is if we do not elect to have a different pathway and this anger takes over, we get into lots and lots of problems. Now, one of the things that has been noted is that and triggered off by the amygdala, because that really ramps up our fight or flight or our sympathetic nervous system, it's going to dump out lots amounts of norepinephrine and epinephrine, all right? They have very strong physiological responses. So when I first saw the article about the 8 times heart attack and the 4 times stroke, over the next 2 hours after you have that anger outburst, it's like, okay, yeah, I know that, but why? Found another article that starts showing that these two neurotransmitters are exceptionally high for that period of time. Well, okay, it makes sense. The other thing is that this is where the addiction part comes in. Anger, the brain likes it because it gives you a sense of power and energy. And dopamine is associated with addictions. And it doesn't matter whether you have an addiction to sex, whether you have addiction to food, whether you have addiction to what drugs, it doesn't matter. The dopamine levels are increased. So if you like getting angry, it gives you that feel good deep down inside, although it's destructive to you. We have the dopamine going on. And at the same point in time, with the dysregulation of the hypothalamus and the prefrontal cortex, it wipes out that mood stabilizer. Serotonin is supposed to keep us kind of leveled and chilled out. But in this case, and again, mechanisms are not fully understood, it knocks the serotonin system out of place. So we can't unregulate, all right? So Angela is going to pick it up from here, and we're going to talk about some oils, and then I'll come back and talk about some other things that we can do to help manage anger. Angela.
All right, and let me get, there we go. So here's our emotional scale. And if there ever was a time that this emotional scale came into play, anger is usually the one that most people can identify with, right? We all know that these heavy feelings on the left, we don't want to be there. We don't like to hang out there. We want to get to the lighter feelings over on the right-hand side. And we know we can get there, but our expectation sometimes is, I want to get there now. And that's not going to happen, right? Because we got to process this information that we have. Now, you can look at anger on your scale there at about the, I don't know, 10 o'clock position. And, you know, we want to get over to that positive expectations or beliefs, but that just might be unrealistic kind of a jump. So we got to kind of work through and just work towards that goal. It's a process. So if we're in our spot where we're very angry and we end up getting to frustration or defensiveness, it's not exactly where we want to be, but that's a big step. That's huge progress. So we have to take these small successes where we can, without setting us up for failure and, you know, trying to get from a very heavy negative emotion all the way over to the right, because that's just not going to work, right?
Hey, Angela, if I can jump in here real quick, can we go back that slide?
Sure.
So in the notes, there's an article that's written by Doug Knoll that talks about the 12 root causes of anger and the way to de-escalate them. And he addresses that, like Angela and I were stunned that there are 12 different types of anger, and there's like a half a dozen different ways of what causes that. But as you look at that, as Angela just said, you have to process through those and you have to look at that. And many of the things that he talks about in his articles pairs very, very well with this emotional guidance scale.
Yeah, that was a really good article. It, like he said, it's in the notes. I would definitely go check that out. So these are the oils that we were looking at. This is off the emotions wheel. And I was actually kind of surprised because at the lack of oils that I thought there'd be an overwhelming, just like, oh my gosh, I don't know which oil to pick. There's just too many decisions. But I was kind of happy to see that, okay, it's narrowed down to just a few, basically a handful. So we're going to talk about a little bit about each of these. And the one that was throwing me off was the HD Clear, because that's what I think of as skin. Teenagers use this for to help with acne and whatnot. I guess that's going to be the kids oil for this go around, because I didn't see any actually out of the kids blends. that really kind of fit into this. There was a couple that may have, but so these are the oils that we're going to talk about. The first one is cardamom. This is the oil of objectivity, right? And as I'm starting to read about this, I'm seeing that when you're feeling frustrated or angry with other people, I'm like constantly doing that behind the wheel of my car. Elaine knows that I love to offer advice to other drivers from the steering wheel of my car. They never listen to me, but it gets me frustrated, right? So maybe I need to start diffusing some cardamom as I'm driving around town. These are the people who get hot-headed and they lash out in frustration. This is going to help kind of regain the balance, regain that objectivity, that mental clarity, and that self-control. You can see the different ways to use it there. And there is a quick diffuser blend that you can use for diminishing anger with cardamom, frankincense, lavender, and cinnamon. Forgive, of course, this one's going to be in there, right? This is a very forgiving type. This is a forgiving oil. It's very helpful. I got to move me out of the way. It's very helpful if you're being a little bit cynical and you're beginning to expect the worst from others. Like, that's just your expectations. We're not going to go in and hope for anything. It's just going to be like, well, what are you going to fail to do for me now? Where you could if you're blaming others all the time for your misfortunes and you feel justified by doing that, this challenges you to let go of that bitterness and those hostilities and basically embrace others as an extension of yourself and say, okay, this reminds us that we got to live by the golden rule, right? It's do unto others as you want done to you. It's not do unto others before they do unto you. That's not the way you're gonna get through this. So using the forgive could be the good oil for you. There are so many benefits from this. I would encourage you guys to go look it up in your resources, because not only the emotional aspect of it, but the physical aspect of it too. This is one of those oils that is almost a go-to for almost any emotion, any feeling, anytime. So I was talking about HD Clear, right? And when I think HD Clear, I think of the HD Clear line that we use for the skincare products for the teenagers. But actually what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the HD Clear, the roll-on, the topical blend. And that's the part that threw me off a little bit, right? But as I was reading up on this oil, I was like, okay, cool. If you're harboring feelings of guilt or anger from the past, this is going to help suppress that anger and guilt and to help suppress that self-judgment. If you have feelings that you have not dealt with appropriately, you're maybe lashing out or blaming others, this is going to encourage that healthy release of expression so you don't have those outbursts and you don't get those moments, right? If we see that it assists in our seeing that we inherit worth, we are okay, we have worthiness, we have purpose, right? Regardless of the physical appearance of how we look. But this is going to support increasing that self-acceptance and self-love, and it's going to be able to help you go, you know what, I'm okay, and I'm good, and I know I have a purpose, and this is going to help you hopefully find that purpose. I found this one to be kind of interesting. I wouldn't have picked thyme for an oil to help with emotional aspect of anger, but as I was doing some research on it, you can see that this is one of the most powerful cleansers of the emotional body, right? It really addresses those tapped in feelings that are kind of buried deep down. It's particularly helpful with treating the toxic emotions of hate, rage, anger, and resentment. Those can be some really, really deep-seated emotions. And this oil has the ability to kind of reach in there and kind of pull it out and say, all right, we're not going to hang out there anymore. We're going to figure out how to deal with this. As your heart opens more, you have more of the ability to receive love and offer forgiveness to folks. Again, it's really kind of helping you get through some of those really, really deep buried emotions that sometimes we try to bury deeper down because we don't want to deal with them. This may be the oil that that you may want to try to help process through some of those things. We can use it aromatically, topically, and internally. Topically, because this is a hot oil, we definitely want to dilute that with some type of carrier oil, right? And you can put it, apply it to the chest or over the sacral chakra, over that lower stomach area, and the bottoms of the feet. That if you're learning about chakras, or if you want to learn more about that, Sean has been diving into that a lot more so than I have. But they kind of work well together, right? And there's a couple different blends that you can try for diffusing when it comes to breaking out that bottle of thyme. Now, whisper, I thought this was a cool one. The oil of femininity, and I'm like, okay, I'm a guy. Do I really need an oil like this? Truth be told, yep, I do. The reason why I have 2 bottles up there is because it used to come in the 5 milliliter bottle, but now it's only comes in the Whisper Touch, basically. And I forget the reason behind that, but so if you're going to purchase it now, you're going to find the Whisper roll-on. And as I'm reading about this oil, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I do need to use some of this oil. So it's processing a strong feminine quality, but female energy is needed by both men and women, right? It helps us to let go of that pride and that tough exterior, and allows for that deeper kind of emotional connection. It helps reconnect when there's been a strain, a separation, a loss, or any kind of abuse within a relationship. So again, it's kind of helping processing those deeper emotions. And it's particularly helpful when dealing with issues that manifest as anger, hostility, or resistance towards women. If you find yourself in a situation where you notice this is a trend, maybe this is the oil for you, so you can connect with that other side and be able to process these emotions just a little bit more. This is a great oil to use on the terracotta jewelry. Many folks like to wear this. Other folks will use this as a perfume. Note to self, this oil works really well with the chemistry of your body. That being said, I can tell you, I have one friend who used it on her son's girlfriend, and it smelled absolutely heavenly. It was a wonderful odor and very pleasant, very calming. So she was like, cool, let me try it. So she tried it and got a totally different smell. She was like, nope, the chemistry of her body was definitely different than her son's girlfriend. So her son's girlfriend still, to this day, I think, still uses Whisper as a perfume, but the lady that introduced her, she's like, nope, I don't even like that oil because it makes me smell like an old lady with blue hair. So just know that this oil does work with the chemistry of your body. So you may have a little bit different smell than somebody else. Some of the other oils that we can consider on using: citronella, right? This is the averting oil. You want to repel those unwanted invaders from the body and from your energy field. These recurring negative thoughts kind of accumulate and stagnate in us, and they kind of create havoc within our body. Well, this oil can help break that energetic cycle and kind of release that constant irritation. And it helps us release that from our body or from our energy field. Wintergreen, I love the smell of wintergreen. This is really good for that strong-willed individual and letting go. And you got somebody that's like always has to be right. This might be the oil of choice for them. For those that believe life is painful and it should be shouldered all alone, like you don't need any help. No, this oil might be helpful in that, because it helps surrender those strong opinions and We all know that if we try to get through life alone, we're not going to be successful. We need other people to help us along the way. Lang-a-lang, the inner child oil, this helps individuals in releasing those bottled up emotions, such as sadness and anger. These emotions can be buried, again, pretty deep inside, but the Lang-a-lang has the ability to bring these out. It reminds you that joy can be felt and experienced more fully by allowing your heart basically to open up and be, and when you have the full range of emotions, we're better able to process information that we take in, process information as it comes out, and it just helps us work through those times. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this, but I did a little Facebook Live on Naoli, and when I first saw it, I was like, what the heck is this oil? And then I saw, wait a minute, this is a doTERRA oil. So I went rifling through my stuff, and lo and behold, I have it. It is an oil that was offered, it was one of the oils of the month, long time ago. Had no idea really what to do with it or why I should have it. And then as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, maybe we need to break this one out too. But this helps really kind of recalibrate the emotional response when you become really irritated and irrational, or like that instant burst. It reminds you that you have the power to choose rational and kind responses in each situation, and you don't have to blow up. You don't have to have that just burst of anger. These oils all have they work in different areas. Some of them work deeper within our bodies. So find out which one of these works for you. Take one of these oils and try it out whenever you're in that situation, and see which one of these oils works best for you. We always talk about affirmations too, that affirmations really help out with processing that anger that we have right there at that moment, when we're in the middle of the intersection and the car's not going anywhere and everybody's blowing their horn. This is the time that we need to maybe have that affirmation and think about this, right? When we're doing these affirmations, we want to say them out loud. We want to say them in at least 3 times, and we want emphasis on there. We don't want to race through these. We want to put feeling. We want to put purpose in these words as we speak them. These are just some of the ones that I have found to be, I think they're pretty helpful. This anger isn't going to help me resolve anything or change anything in my life, right? This is like no truer words have been spoken. Which one was it?
And Angela, while you're trying to find that, that goes very much into that. Is it affecting our goal, or is it challenging our expectations? Now that one is like beautiful. That summarizes those first 2 points there.
Yeah, it does. But you can read these other ones. There's lots of others to pick from out there, and you can come up with an affirmation at a moment's notice. You may think you don't know how to do that, but you do. You will. You think about where you're feeling, what you're feeling, why you're feeling that way. You think about where you want to get to get out of that funk, to get out of that anger, and you're going to find the words for that affirmation. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Sean.
All right, thank you. So anger management. So have you ever been near somebody and you just feel cruddy, even though there's been no exchange of dirt? You just don't feel right. So we have an energy system within us, and it's a bioelectric magnetic field. And we exert this, and it's most strongest coming out from our heart. Now, when 2 people meet, those fields are already interacting well before you are in that personal space. So in that social distance space, if you understand proxemics, those fields are interacting. And if that person has a lot of negative vibes or anger or whatever, you start to absorb that, whether you want to or not. And I'm seeing a lot of head shakes on that. So, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got this. What do I do? If you don't know how to work the chakras to get rid of this, and sometimes even if you do know how to, it just isn't working. There's a lot of great people out there. Sudguru is an Indian guru that I really like his work. Very phenomenal man. And he's the one that introduced me to these water baths and air baths. And then I found some other, it's like, I want to know more. And so I found some others and I referenced them in the handout for you. So one of the things that they talk about in the water bath is to literally stand and have that water come down over you, top of your head, and let it roll over your body. And it's a grounding effort. Make sure you're breathing, doing that parasympathetic breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. Try not to drown yourself. That is part of the medical warning. That's very, very bad. But, and then a lot of times by just taking that shower, it helps you feel cleaner and much more refreshed and like, wow, it wasn't as bad. There's also research that is talking about cold water showers. And I've been playing with this over several weeks. Here's the issue. At 70 degrees, that's where we really start to get the effect, but it is most pronounced. And there's a research article that was reported in the Washington Post as and reflected in the notes that it significantly increases several of the neurotransmitters that are great for us in mood stabilization. I want to say like serotonin was increased by 250 some percent at 57 degrees. Here's the thing. Many of us, our hearts may not be able to take it. So this is something you need to check out with your medical practitioner, all right? And you don't want to do this alone, because if you, oh, I'm just going to jump into a cold water bath or turn the shower down and only have cold water, if your body is not acclimated for it and that sudden change, your heart rate significantly drops, your blood pressure drops, you pass out, you fall down, hurt yourself, or if you're in the tub, you wind up slipping under and will drown. So please, if you are thinking about doing this, check with your healthcare practitioner. All right, very important. I will tell you, I have been slowly dropping my water temperature, not only with the temperature that I wash myself, but when I rinse, I'm finding it to be much more energetic. It does invigorate you. The other thing that I've noticed is as the water gets colder, my breathing pattern has changed. And there's something I forgot to put in the notes. It's Wim Hof, WIMHOF, Wim Hof breathing. And there's a breathing pattern for when you get into this really, really cold water. And let me, thank you, Angelo, for typing that in. That breathing pattern helps you to deal with this cold water. There's a couple people that I'm following. They are to the point, like they will go in Lake Ontario, cut a hole in the ice, and sit in there several minutes, and then they submerge themselves and are underwater. And it's like, I would like to get there. One of the yoga masters that I follow, he bought a chest freezer, had the guy set it for 57 degrees. And he climbs in when he needs his cold water immersion. So there are options of getting that. But again, make sure that you have that medical training or clearance. Also in the notes, there is an in case of emergency. If you have somebody that's really stressed out, there's a way of doing it by just hitting them in the face with cold water. Details are in the notes. Now, on the right side is the wind bath. Now, the one thing with wind baths is you want to make sure that your clothing is flowing because you want the wind to come and blow over you. If your clothing is really tight fitting, it becomes a sail and then it will topple you over and it doesn't have as cleansing of an effect. I was skeptical with this, and you know that of my skepticism. We had a really nice wind blowing the other day. I was a little worked up, and it's like, all right, let's go out and try it. I was impressed with how much better I felt going outside, standing into the wind, and it was really cool because where the wind was coming out, I could look directly into the sun with my eyes closed. I didn't want to burn my retinas out, and took that posture. What an awesome feeling. So there's some research there and some references in the handout for you. All right. Now, this lady here, Marsha Linehan, there's a YouTube link in the notes. Go watch this. When Angela and I were putting this together, we were kind of stumbling over some stuff. And then all of a sudden I got a continuing medical education notice, and the topic was on anger. I said, Angelo, what? And sent that and jumped into it. I had more information than I knew what to do with it. How about it, Angelo?
Yeah, that was just phenomenal. Perfect timing too.
Yeah. It's like the gods just handed it right out to me. Thank you, universe. So she talks about, and she's one of the creators of the I always mess up the name of this. Dialectical behavioral therapy. And it's called the willing hands. And when you have somebody that's angered, and if they take this posture by sitting down and turning their palms up, all right, like I'm putting it out there for you. It is a conscious effort. And by consciously doing that, it starts to take the amygdala offline and allowing you to think about, remember what we said, anger, the first 2 seconds, it's automatic response. Anything after that, you are allowing it to control your life. And by turning your hands up and asking for that forgiveness, asking for that surrendering, and all those other oils that Angelo talked about, it works. And if you're standing, then just hold your arms 90-90 at the shoulder and elbow, all right? And palms up. It's amazing how that works. What else can we do? We've talked previously about box breathing, and one of the things that was stressed over and over and over again in that CME program on anger is breathing, and how important breathing is, particularly this box breathing. And what happens with box breathing is you are concentrating on the breathing because you got to count out the 4 seconds of inhaling, then holding it, then exhaling. Again, you're taking the control away from the amygdala and allowing your conscious brain to come back online. And you're allowing the breath to take this sympathetic nervous system, put that in check, and allowing your parasympathetic, your rest and digest system, to take over. And remember that epinephrine, norepinephrine, which helps to bring about those strokes and heart attacks, the parasympathetic nervous system is going to help wash those away and decrease your risks there. So that box breathing or any meditative breathing practice is very, very beneficial. And the other thing that they, this panel kept mentioning about is meditative practices, whether it is yoga, whether it is Tai Chi, Qigong, or just sitting and consciously focusing on clearing your mind. Again, the same, whether you're doing something physically or whether you're doing something passively, such as that meditative mindset, it is taking conscious control and helping you control. I'm not sure, Lori and Marty, what you're going with right there. As far as, no, it's just running water that comes over. So whatever comes from my tap, it's the act of washing away. Like over in India, they will go to the rivers and let the moving water in the rivers. Another person was commenting about they use their hot tub and just the motion, and then afterwards they pray over the water that all the negativity goes away. So it's the process of the washing, whether it's a bath or a shower. Does that help you there, Lori and Marty? So meditative practices, we've talked about. Box breathing, we've talked about, which I think then brings us to the summary. And I am so thankful that all of you have joined us tonight. Very good, Lori. And hopefully you were able to gain something from this and have a realization that you have control of this very strong emotion. Angelo.
Yeah, that was some good stuff right there, buddy. That's, you know, you make it, well, we don't make it sound simple to control our anger, but now I feel like at least I have more tools and more awareness of how to control my anger when things happen.
Oh, there's one other thing I just saw in my notes. When you have somebody that is angered, two things. As you approach them, do not smile. And this really kind of caught me off guard, because when we smile, we're open, we're positive, etc. But smiling in the angered mind is being interpreted as an act of aggression. So what you want to do is to raise your eyebrows up. So you're smiling with your eyes, but your face, your lip area needs to remain neutral. And the other thing that there was only one author that mentioned this is, if you know what that trigger is, and I think this is probably one of the most important pieces of advice, and we don't heed it often enough, is walk away from the problem. If you know that this is what's ticking you off and getting your anger flared up, walk away. Now I'm done.
Yeah. Sounds easy. Yeah, walk away. That would be a good thing. Folks, I just uploaded the slides that you just saw for this presentation. So if you want a copy for yourself, click on that link and you'll be able to have that. If you were late coming into this session, if you're up at the top, I put the link for the notes if you don't have those. So you'll have the notes and the PowerPoints to go with that. So some pretty good stuff tonight. What do you guys got any questions for us?
I have to say, while you're talking, just recently I started starting my days with watching a session of the television show. Well, it's not a TV show. It's The Chosen.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people nodding their heads. And I'm aware by watching the interaction of the people that Christ is working with, how frequently they are angered at each other.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, why is this guy acting like what, they're mad at Matthew because he is the way he is. And somebody's mad at Simon Peter because he thinks he should boss everybody around because he's a natural born leader. And it's interesting how every time they try to get Christ to kind of side with them, he basically is saying, well, these are their gifts, and I'm using them to, they're growing too. And so it's an interesting thing if somebody's like, you feel like something is annoying you, to recognize the benefit of the grace of Christ.
Yeah. True story. True story. Very good.
I was just wondering, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Some of the diffusing blends,
Yes,
can we make them into like rolling ball, the rollers?
absolutely. My thought process is any diffuser blend can be turned into a rollerball blend. Just and if if you're going to use a 5 milliliter, you may want to half the diffuser blend. Start low, go slow kind of thing. And if you're not getting the effect that you're looking for, then go ahead and increase the amount of drops. But yeah, and if you're going to use it as a rollerball, the back of the feet, up the spine, pulse points, back of the neck, those are great places to use it. Just bear in mind that it's summertime now, or at least warmer weather is here. So be mindful of any of these oils that are have any kind of photosensitivity to them. You don't want to be putting a photosensitive oil on the back of your neck and then go hang outside, because you may get some burning, some irritation from that. So, but yeah, you can definitely use a diffuser blend as a rollerball blend.
And something else that I found that works well with roller balls is you can rub a little bit on your finger and then hold it underneath your nose and get that whiffing. Particularly if you're in an area where, like going into a doctor's office where you're not supposed to have strong scents, you can do a quick puff through your roller ball and still get the benefit.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, my other half is here.
Judy wants to smell that new.
Here it is, right here.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So Judy's hanging out tonight. So
Come on.
if she wants to take some with her, she can.
Okay.
So all right, guys. Was this beneficial for you guys tonight?
Yes.
Learn a thing or two?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So next month is, what is it? What are we doing?
Well, awareness and or trust. We're so
it's an and or. We're trying to figure this out. Awareness and trust are actually, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording for right now.